So the file which I am sharing, I hope it is visible to all of you. दिख रहा है ना?
Yes, sir.
So these are certain core moral values which are important for any professional decision, any professional conduct. And we discuss these core values with reference to different codes of ethics developed by different professional societies. So I have worked out different codes available in engineering profession, in medical profession, in legal profession, in business, in medical. And with reference to all those, I found certain things which are essential, which are common across all these professional codes. So these are some of the points. To me, they are the core of what we call professional values. So consider the first point, which suggests that we need to preserve the dignity and interest of the profession. Whatever we are doing, the greater objective of our activity must be the dignity of the profession as such. If because of our any misconduct, because of our any irrational behavior, any failure, if the profession is seen in a low regard, then our behavior cannot be called ethical or moral behavior. Look at the profession today we call politics. How much high regard we have towards these politicians. Look at the profession which we call policing. How much high regard we have towards the police organization. Look at the situation in military organization, how much regard we have for their sacrifices, their contributions. Look at different professions. It would be just numbering the or naming different professions and our perspective towards them. Look at the teaching profession to which I belong. How much high regard we have for teaching profession. So if because of some activity, some engagement of some individuals, if the image of profession, if the image of that particular community is compromised, that becomes a test for any misconduct, isn't it? So as an efficient, good professional, a moral professional, it is our responsibility to preserve the dignity and interest of the profession. Look at the second point. I find this interesting, and we have discussed certain theories, so you can connect to the previous discussion. The second point is an advice that for making any decision, for doing anything, we need to adopt a kind of utilitarian perspective, right? Work in the best interest of the society. Now, society is, of course, one would say abstract thing, but if you adopt a utilitarian perspective, it is not difficult to see that what is in the best interest of the society, right? So as a professional, because we are empowered by our training, by our knowledge, and we have privilege over any ordinary mind, all common people, and they rely on our advices, they rely on our prescriptions. They have no way but to trust us for their safety, for their health, for their well-being. So all common people, they all are looking for the help of all these professionals, the privileged ones. We belong to privileged class. In fact, PhD degree is not any ordinary degree if you look. It's a very prestigious degree. And its prestige brings in a lot more responsibility, right? So whenever we are working in a situation where a lot more trust is imposed on us, a lot more trust is shown in our profession, in our behavior, then certainly it is our greater responsibility. The government and the common people, in fact, ultimately, whole money comes from the common people, right? It is the asset of the society which we are using as a teacher, as a scientist, as an engineer, as a law professor or legal professional, or any, just think of so many professional. So we are using the resources of the society. So therefore it is our responsibility to work as a professional in the best interest of the society, because it is the society which has reposed trust in us, which has shown a kind of belief or trust in us. So we need to keep their hopes. If we are betraying their hope, if we are betraying their trust, one would say that it is illegal, one would say it is immoral. I would say, as a religious person, it is sinful, besides being illegal or immoral. Then look at the third point. Maintain the best possible conditions of service and high standard of professional and personal conduct. As a professional, we are supposed to deliver quality services to the society, which is supporting our sustenance, which is taking care of all our physical needs, which is providing money, which is providing respect and whatnot. So what is our responsibility as a professional, as a scientist, as an engineer? Is it a kind of irrational demand on the part of society that we need to maintain the best possible conditions of service and high standards of professional and personal conduct? No, they are not unjustified. They are not being irrational. In fact, it would be otherwise if we say like that. Consider the fourth point. Deal justly and impartially. Remember, in whatever capacity we are working anywhere, we are making decisions. I will be evaluating your answer sheets. I am yet to evaluate because I was preparing for grades who appeared in their major examination. So I could not do that. So now I started evaluation of the BTech student answer sheets. Now evaluation is a very demanding practice, if you see. That means evaluation, the morality behind evaluation demands that whatever you deserve, you must get, right? And there should not be over-evaluation, nor should be under-evaluation, and also there should not be otherwise evaluation. And we are discussing that in our Discourse on Human Virtues course, that respect is basically right kind of evaluation. If I over-evaluate or under-evaluate or otherwise evaluate, then I am not paying respect to you. I am disrespecting your intelligence. I am disrespecting your responses, right? So dealing justly and impartially without any other considerations, just considering what you have presented yourself before us. And that is true of any decision-making point, right? Many of you are working and others are preparing themselves for different roles in different capacities. And if we always think that, okay, there may be a future occasion where we will start doing this way. No, I basically discuss with our BTech students that, remember, at this very moment you are professional. Don't think that after getting a BTech degree you are going to be a professional. No. At this very moment you are a learner, I am a learner, we all are in the profession of learning. So we can't afford waiting that, okay, after degree I will do that way, or if I am in this situation only then I will do that way. That is being impartial, and that is not being impartial, right? That is not being just. It is injustice not towards the others but also towards our own being. So this is very important core value related to any professional life. And research and publication being a part of the whole of professional life. Look at the fifth point. This is something which is, I consider, interesting as well as very uniquely suggestive value. Work for the higher individual goals. Normally we work for short-term goals. And जिसको कहते हैं ना, ये शॉर्ट साइटेड है, बहुत कम दूरी में मायोपिक विजन है. Working for higher individual goals, that means we need to work out for each of us. In fact, we need to work out for ourselves what we are looking for through the activities in which we are engaged. What we are looking for. Is it just a purpose of getting a piece of paper, a PhD degree, or a BTech degree, or MTech degree, or just some appreciation, or just some promotions? Are we looking for only these things? As a human being, we need to have certain goals designed, defined for our life. And we need to be very clear about that, yes, this is the thing which we are looking for. Unless we work out that higher goal, it would be very difficult to decide the merit of the decision of any moment in our life. And the approach cannot be systematic, it cannot be scientific, unless we see that, yes, this we are looking for, right? कहते नहीं, साइंटिफिक कंडक्ट है, हमको साइंटिफिक टेम्पर डेवलप करना है. कैसे डेवलप कर सकते हैं? जिंदगी में हम क्या पाना चाह रहे हैं उसको देखना है. और सब लोगों की जिंदगी है, सब लोग तो कुछ न कुछ पाना चाह रहे हैं, कुछ भी पाना दे, and there may not be commonality in our aspirations, except one aspiration, that we all are looking for a continuously happy life. Nobody will contest on that part, that we want to live a very comfortable, continuously happy life. We don't want to have any break in our happiness, right? So we want to live a continuously happy life. So let us say that is the larger objective, the largest objective, let us say, and that in some sense that is objective in itself. Why we are looking for continuously happy life? There cannot be any meaningful response to that, because one can at best say that, yes, I'm like that. I'm just looking for continuously happy life. So whatever is essential to attain that state, the higher goal, we need to work on that. We need to manage all those things. So this suggestion that work for higher individual goals suggests that as an individual, we need to work out that what we are looking for in our life. As an individual, I'm not talking about as a family member, as a spouse, or as a student, as this or that. No, just as an individual. And if we have not clarified on that part, I think there need to be continuous discussion and continuous deliberation going on in our mind that yes, this thing we are looking for. And wherever there is any point of decision, we can easily get the inspiration from the higher goal. Okay, ये हमारा गोल है, हम ये चाहते हैं. अब उस चाहने में ये वाला डिसीजन कितना हेल्प करेगा, उस डायरेक्शन में कितने स्टेप हमें आगे ले जाएगा, ये देखते रहना. So this is very important value for human life as such, and of course professional life. Strive for excellence. This is a wonderful value, excellence. And of course in grading we have a grading excellent, etc. But we know from our own experience that there is no human stage of understanding which we can say that, okay, this is excellent and there is nothing more excellent than that. I hope you agree that yes, there is always a scope of improvement. However fantastic professionals we become or we are, but there is always a step ahead, right? So striving for excellence, and in this journey of excellence, we are competing with no one with, we are not competing with anyone, in fact. What we are doing is just advancing over whatever we are today at this moment, right? So a few years back, I set one target for myself that I will try to learn at least one thing which I have not learned previously, at least one new thing. And I get often frustrated if in the whole day, if I don't get anything which I have not seen earlier, which I have not seen or could not think of those things earlier. It doesn't mean that every day I get something serendipitously. That is not the case. In fact, whatever we know, if we can advance a bit on that, then to me, the day is successful, right? When we go to bed in the evening, and if we have learned something, some new word, something new, some freshness, it is so satisfying. And I believe that this is such a valuable experience that it would be folly or foolishness to not to value that. So striving for excellence is the objective, which is wonderful. It mesmerizes everyone, in fact. So जो भी हम हैं उससे हमें आगे नॉलेज के सेंस में, हेल्थ के सेंस में बिल्कुल उसको आगे बढ़ो. And then we are not living in island. We are not living in solitude, right? We are among our fellow beings, and there are other beings. So work in unison, that is something which is understood in so many ways. I would not like to bring in all those things, but one way of seeing our own behavior, whether it is in the direction of that unity, that integrity, just one sign. And I wish to follow it in my own personal life. I am working in unison. How we can sense that? Working in unison. एक टीम की तरह काम करने की जो स्पिरिट होती है, इसमें मैं आप लोगों से पूछना चाहूंगा कि what is the greatest hurdle in a team spirit? For working in a team spirit, what is the greatest hurdle? क्या कहना चाहेंगे? सबसे बड़ी प्रॉब्लम क्या है टीम स्पिरिट में काम करने के? उसमें कुछ बताएंगे, कुछ अपना एक्सपीरियंस शेयर करिए। टीम स्पिरिट में काम करने, टीम में काम करने के लिए सबसे बड़ी जो प्रॉब्लम है या सबसे बड़ी मुसीबत है या क्या कहेंगे ऑब्स्ट्रक्शन है? किसी ने कुछ लिखा है, मैं देखूं क्या है। Differences in opinion. Yes, this is good observation. So if we have different opinion on certain things, that becomes a challenge to manage, right? Now, difference of opinion in itself is not a challenge if we see, right? हमने एक दिन इस पर थोड़ी सी बात की भी थी कि difference of opinion is not a challenging thing. In fact, that is the most welcome thing. And in some sense, that is essential for our excellence. In the journey of excellence, if we encounter opposing or alternative opinions, then we can test the viability and rationality of our own proposal, our own viewpoint, our own opinion. And this leads us to a better situation. It makes us a better person. It contributes to the journey of excellence. So do you think then that if these are the positive things related to differences of opinion, then in what sense do you consider this as a hurdle? क्या कहेंगे? कुछ और response आया है. Poor communication skills among team members. That means there is a communication gap and we are not keeping all of us well connected, right? So this could be a symptom of, let us say, the problem. Lack of trust on each other. How do you understand trust? We are discussing this concept and we think that trust is the foundational value. And Tariq, you have rightly pointed out that it is lack of trust. So how do we understand trust? If the trust, and we do support this claim that trust is the foundational value for any kind of group activity, for any kind of team activity. Unless there is trust, we cannot remain a team member. We cannot remain a family member. We cannot remain a country if there is trust deficit. So thank you. You have really pointed out the core of the issue. It's lack of trust. So let us try to understand what is trust. How do we understand trust? क्या कहेंगे? Trust नहीं होना working in unison के लिए challenge है. तो अगर हमारी ये फीलिंग है कि ट्रस्ट नहीं है, तो वो क्या चीज है जो मिसिंग है, उसी को हमें पकड़ना है. क्या चीज है जो मिसिंग है, जिसको हम कहते हैं ट्रस्ट डेफिसिट. और कहते हैं ना कि जब तक हम ये नहीं समझेंगे कि वास्तव में क्या हमारे पास नहीं है, तो उसको लाने का कोई एफर्ट नहीं होगा, राइट? तो इसको थोड़ा सा आप खोलिए, थोड़ा अनफोल्ड करिए. हाउ डू यू अंडरस्टैंड ट्रस्ट? चैट बॉक्स में डाल सकते हैं या माइक ऑन करके बोल सकते हैं. मैं आपको एक प्रपोजल देता हूं, इसको आप सोचिएगा और अगली क्लास में हम इस प्रपोजल पर आपसे कुछ सुनना चाहेंगे. यू कैन नोट डाउन इफ यू विश. Normally we discuss this value and I am putting the same proposal before you for your consideration. Trust is the feeling of assurance that the other team members, the other persons want my welfare. They want my benefit. They want my well-being. They want to see me happy. They want to see me progressing. It is that kind of feeling. Trust is that kind of feeling of assurance that the other wants my happiness. The other doesn't want to harm me. So I am advancing this proposal for your reflection. Do you think that this understanding of trust is proper or it requires some more revision? So mind every word because I am just borrowing the definition from somewhere. Trust is the assurance. Trust is the assurance. This you need to underline. It's a feeling of assurance. Sorry. So trust is the feeling of assurance that the other wants my happiness. The other wants my well-being. And if you want to add, the other does not want my harm. The other does not want to harm me. It is that kind of feeling of assurance. And when we have this feeling of assurance that this person doesn't want to harm me, this person wants to serve my benefit, or this person wants to see me happy, where we have this feeling that this person wants to harm me, it is this very component which misses out. Trust, वहीं ट्रस्ट डेफिसिट की बात होती है जहां ये फीलिंग आती है कि ये हमारा भला नहीं चाहता है, ये हमको उजाड़ देना चाहता है. So you go with this proposal, reflect on this, and then we will try to connect. There are certain unique values, and we will see how those values are associated with our this very specific behavior, that is research and publication behavior, how those values are associated with this, and if there is any problem, which are the values which are under threat or which are compromised. So Tariq very rightly said that it is trust deficit, it is lack of trust, which is against the spirit of unison. Working in unison cannot be possible if there is trust deficit, right? So these are the common values which I have worked out by going through some 20 or 25 professional codes related to different professions, and I find them very interesting and worth consideration. Now I'm talking about the professional codes, and from there I have drawn these common values. Basically, they are foundational to any kind of professional codes. They are foundational to any kind of code of ethics. Professional codes are known in so many ways, right? You may call it code of conduct, a code of ethics, professional codes, or the guiding principles. You may call it by any name. And if you go to different websites of different professional bodies, for example, you can go to ICMR website, Indian Council of Medical Research website. You can go to Bar Council of India website. You can go to Engineers Association of India website. You can go to Managers Association of India, and so many such professional bodies are there, and most of you must be members of this or that body. You can just see the professional codes of your respective professional bodies, and then you can easily sense that the professional codes are of course founded on certain moral principles, core moral principles, but they have a legal force. That means they are laws. They are designed to regulate or monitor the professional conducts of the members of that organization or that profession. The professional codes are designed for that purpose. And if any member is found violating any of those codes, then there are some punitive acts, right? There are some punishments. And the greatest punishment could be you may be excommunicated from that group, that community. Your membership may be taken away. And if the problem is so serious, even the professional body can go against you for filing a criminal case, etc. But normally the broader guidelines are provided to help the professionals to conduct in a decent and civilized way, so that the core values which we have learned today are not compromised. So here I raise a question, and I will tell a story, and then I will leave it to you for your reflection and further questioning, further curiosity for the next class. So the story goes like this. The story is from Greek mythology, basically. And there was a disciple of Socrates called Xenophon, and he spent good amount of time with Socrates, and he could grasp the teachings, the discussions of Socrates, the Greek philosopher. So Xenophon was one of the bright disciples of Socrates, and he documented his interaction with Socrates, and that is published now with the title Memorabilia of Socrates. And there are 3 or 4 volumes, and he has documented other things also, but the story which I wish to tell you today belongs to this particular document. Can you see the page now? Dikh raha hai?
Yes, sir.
So these are the characters, Alcibiades and Pericles. So Alcibiades जो है Pericles का बेटा है कह लीजिए. There is a discussion between these two, and the discussion is precisely on the question that what is law? कानून क्या है? So Alcibiades asks his father, let us say, please, Pericles, can you teach me what a law is? So Pericles is responding, to be sure, I can. So Alcibiades is saying, I should be so much obliged if you would do so. One so often hears the epithet law-abiding applied in a complimentary sense, yet it strikes me one hardly deserves the compliment if one does not know what a law is. So Pericles is saying, fortunately, there is a ready answer to your difficulty. You wish to know what a law is. Well, those are laws which the majority, being met together in a conclave, approve and enact as to what it is right to do and what it is right to abstain from doing. So please underline this expression majority. And the law is designed in a meeting of, let us say, the majority, and it is approved by the assembly and it is enacted. And this way, whatever it says, what is right to do, that is taken to be right, and whatever it says it is wrong to do, that is taken to be wrong. So law designed by the majority, and whatever is thought legal by majority is law, and whatever is against that, that is illegal. Now Alcibiades is saying, enact on the hypothesis that it is right to do what is good or to do what is bad. What is the question here? You are enacting on the hypothesis that it is right to do what is good. इसको आपको ध्यान में दें. क्या ये enactment इसलिए है कि it is right to do what is good or it is right to do, it is not right to do what is bad? किस लिए enactment? Right fix करने के लिए है या wrong fix करने के लिए? So Pericles is saying, certainly what is good, to be sure, and he is being sarcastic, right? Young sir, not what is bad. That means laws are designed to ascertain what is good, not what is bad. And once you fix that what is good, by implication you say that anything opposite to that is bad, right? So Pericles is suggesting that, yes, to be sure, laws are enacted to decide what is right to do. Alcibiades is saying now, supposing it is not the majority, he is now putting this counterfactual. Suppose it is not the majority, but as in the case of an oligarchy, the minority. You can think of minority in so many ways, right? The powerful ones, those who have weapons, those who have, but certainly they are less in number, right? So it could be in terms of anything. Similarly, you think of minority. So suppose if the law is enacted not by the majority, but the minority, and that minority meets and enacts the rules of conduct, what would be those? अगर कानून माइनॉरिटी ने बनाया है, और जैसा आपने कहा कि कानून इसलिए बनते हैं कि ये करना चाहिए या इसको फिक्स करा है, तो माइनॉरिटी ने बनाया कानून कि ये करना चाहिए. Whatever the ruling power, now he is try to underline this also. Whatever the ruling power of the state after deliberation enacts as our duty to do, that goes by the name of laws. So let us say the government of the day decides what is legal and what is not legal. So Alcibiades is a very difficult mind. He is coming back now. Then if a tyrant holding the chief power in the state enacts rules of conduct for the citizens, are these enactments laws? Now, here you need to underline this tyrant. Tyrant means you have a repressive regime, a regime which is very hard, dictatorship or whatever you can just think. So if You are saying that ruling power, and let us say ruling power is a tyrant, it's a dictator. If that dictator enacts rules of conduct for the citizens, so are these going to be laws, or these enactments laws? Now, Pericles is getting cornered. So now what he's saying, yes, anything which a tyrant as a head of the state, remember, this you need to highlight. Anything which is enacted by the head of the state, maybe tyrant, maybe oligarchy, maybe majority, maybe anything the head of the state enacts, also goes by the name of law. So that becomes law. Alcides, क्या नाम है भूल ही गया, Alcibiades is coming back. So what is saying? But Pericles, violence and lawlessness, how do we define them? Is it not when a stronger man forces a weaker one to do what seems right to the stronger one? Not by persuasion, but by compulsion. So repression, let us say. Not by persuasion, but by compulsion. इस पूरे को मैंने हाईलाइट किया था, तो I think better you keep this. So if law is enacted and imposed on the weakers, not by persuasion, but by compulsion, do you consider that is law? Pericles क्या कह रहे हैं, वो एकदम कॉर्नर हो गए. I should say so. हाँ, वो कानून होगा. So Alcibiades, it would seem to follow that if a tyrant, without persuading the citizens, drives them by enactment to do certain things, that is lawlessness. Is it not that lawlessness? ये क्या अराजकता नहीं है? अगर कोई tyrant without persuasion citizens के ऊपर कोई ऐसा कानून लगाता है, it is not. Do you call that law? Don't you say that it is lawlessness? ये law नहीं है, कानून नहीं है, बल्कि कुछ और ही है, lawlessness है. Pericles क्या कह रहे हैं? You are right. And I retract, वो अपनी बात को वापस से, I retract the statement that measures passed by a tyrant without persuasion of the citizens are laws. So he is taking his words back. Alcibiades is saying, and what of measures passed by a minority, not by persuasion of the majority, but in the exercise of its power only? Are we or are we not to apply the term violence to these? Pericles is again surrendering. I think that anything which anyone forces another to do without persuasion, whether by enactment or not, is violence rather than law. Alcibiades, it would seem that everything which the majority in the exercise of its power over the possessors of wealth and without persuading them chooses to enact is of the nature of violence rather than of law. Again, surrender. फिर देखिए. To be sure, answered Pericles, adding, at your age, we were clever hands at such quibbles ourselves. It was just such subtleties which we used to practice our wits upon, as you do now, if I mistake not. To which Alcibiades replied, oh, Pericles, I do wish we could have met in those days when you were at your cleverest in such matters. So look at what is law and what you can make out of this story, what is law. And then try to think in our own situation where we say something as legal, something as illegal. And you see, to have a political comment on our situation here in Jammu and Kashmir, this removal of Article 370. So I'm just reminding you, and then you look at all those things which are happening in India. That is on the part of politics, and as a responsible citizen, in fact, we must be reflective on these political matters also. But remember, try to connect this story, the proposal which you call law, in so many ways. Try to connect it to the professional codes. The professional codes are designed to regulate or monitor the professional behaviors of that community. So what are those professional codes? And where do you locate them in all these responses which Pericles is giving to Alcibiades, and then gradually he is rendering to the growing of Alcibiades. You try to reflect on these issues, and next class में आप कुछ curiosity, कुछ questions लेके आएंगे, I'm sure. तो मैंने आपकी attendance mark किया है. If you want to say something immediately, so you are welcome. Let me see. There is some chat text. Team members need to know each other both personally and professionally. That is how we can build trust. Yeah, that is correct. That is nice observation. I personally think that normally we confuse between our social responsibility and professional responsibility. And that confusion, that overlapping creates a lot more mess. Consider, for example, if as head of the school, if I scold my office assistant for failing to do something, and then that office assistant starts disrespecting or not talking, so that can be managed because there is a hierarchy. कि हमारी बात नहीं मानोगे तो मैं तुम्हारे सिर पे बैठा हूँ, तो मैं तुम्हारा अप्रेजल में लिखूंगा इस चीज को. तो वहां इस तरह से मैनेजर. What about our colleagues? We are not sitting on each other's head as colleagues, right? There is no legal hierarchy there. But what happens if, because of some unpleasant exchange related to some professional matter, colleagues start just breaking their relationships, social relationships? अगर किसी ऑफिशियल मैटर को लेके कोई डिस्कशन हुआ है तो उसको सोशल मैटर में ले जाना, उनके साथ चाय नहीं पीना, उनसे बात नहीं करना, हाय हेलो नहीं करना. I think this is something which is ruining different organizations. It is that kind of confusion where we overlap professional and social responsibilities. आपके साथ चाय पीना, आपके साथ गपशप करना, ये हमारी social life है. Professional life strictly rule binding और एकदम set pattern वाली life है. अगर वहां कुछ बात होती है तो उसको हम सोशल लाइफ में क्यों ट्रांसपोर्ट कर रहे हैं? और ऐसा हमने होते देखा है, और हम चाहते हैं कि एटलीस्ट यंग प्रोफेशनल्स लाइक यू हु आर एस्पायरिंग टू ज्वाइन ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस एटलीस्ट गिव ए थॉट टू दिस प्रपोजल, दैट is it not the case that we are mixing too much of professional and social life, and how far we can afford mixing these, and whether this mixing is improper or there is a way out? So all these questions may be reflected upon. So I stop from my part here. So it's over. In fact, I marked your attendance, so you can keep your questions for our next class, and we will discuss something. And then in our next class, we will have the presentation by our group 2.